should be on momentarily.
Great.
And we are streaming live.
Okay.
All right. Sorry for being a few minutes late, y'all. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Seekings is unable to join us, so he asked me to chair the meeting today.
Okay.
Since we are running a few minutes behind, he was scheduled to give the invocation. So I will call this meeting to order. And if we could just start with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, first up on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
So moved. Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up on the agenda is Charleston County TST CTC project updates. Is Devery or Richard on?
They are, and I'll introduce this real quick, Mr. Chair, if that's okay. I really appreciate the county and their continued partnership with the city on many, many, many levels. We just had CTC meeting earlier today in preparation of the submissions that are gonna be due later on in May. And so as we've practiced for the past couple of years, having them come at or right after, the first quarter to give you all an update on various different projects that are going on in the city and any questions or issues that you might have. So have Richard here to do that for us, and appreciate him taking the time.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Richard Turner. Thank you all for having me, Mayor, members of council. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you and provide an update on our projects. I will share my screen now, and we will get rolling here. Can you all see my presentation?
We can.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, okay. So I'll start with kind of a list here. I've got my presentation broken up into two different groups. First is our featured project. These are the large projects that were part of the second half-cent sales tax program, and we have a number of those that touch down within the city of Charleston. Maybank Highway, the two of the segments of Main Road Corridor, Glen McConnell Parkway, capacity improvements along Savannah Highway, James Island intersection, and bike and ped improvements along Foley Road, and then the US 17 corridor study. The Maybank Highway improvement project, or the north, which is now what's left of that is the Northern Pitchfork project. So we've been working with really working with the city stormwater, working with Matt and Kinsey there to work through some of our issues there with stormwater permitting, make sure we're getting that correct. We've got a number of modifications that we've done to the plan to get there, and I think we're very close to obtaining the permit from you all so that we can move this forward. Kind of that's really the last piece of the puzzle, and so that one will be hopefully we bid this summer. The next one is a big project, the Main Road Corridor Segment A. We held a public meeting at the end of 2020. The preferred alternative was very well supported. This is a project. A lot of our projects, we talk a lot about them in the newspaper, it seems some days, and they're controversial, but this is one that has been very well supported throughout from conception to date. So this is, we're moving along with this one through the preliminary design phases. It includes the bike pedestrian bridge over the Stono River with connections to East Ferry Road, which there's a shared use path that we did a number of years ago. There, it crosses over the Greenway and has a connection to that. And then it provides really that vital connection from a bike ped standpoint of connecting the current infrastructure in West Ashley over to Johns Island. So that's a critical piece of bike ped infrastructure that we're proud to be providing there. It's also not on the slide, but you have the Stono Park that's there, there on right off of Main Road, so it provides that connection there. The Army Corps engineer permit was submitted this past quarter, and we will begin right-of-way acquisition next quarter. but that one is moving fairly quickly forward. Segment C, this is the section between Maybank Highway and Betsy Harrison Boulevard, Betsy Harrison Parkway. So we held a public meeting early this year, and we're working on a summary of public comments now, and that's going to be posted on that project, on the project website, the kind of responses of the comments as well. So that'll be moving along. We plan to hold a second public meeting next quarter. So I'll say this, we'll get into the third quarters when that would be. Hopefully that will be after we have some COVID restrictions relief from that, and we'll be able to have some larger in-person meetings. Hopefully the atmosphere will allow us for that at that time. Because we really feel like it would be great to connect with some of the neighborhood and communities that are on Johns Island. So that's the push and the direction for that one, to really get some feedback there. We do expect what's going to come out of the first public comment session was that there's a narrowing down of the alternatives. We showed 5 alternatives. Our expectation that what we've seen is there's a few of those that have a significant number of impacts and weren't very well supported. So our expectation is maybe 1 to 2 of those would be eliminated, and then we come back to the public with those remaining alternatives. And then we expect also to refine some of the alternatives that were supported. So there were some things. Alternative 1, I believe it was, is the widening of Maybank Highway, of Bohicket Road. But there's some opportunities there to change that design and tweak some of that to address some of the comments that we've been hearing during this first public comment period. So that's the kind of things that I would expect to see in our second public meeting going into late summer this fall. The Glen McConnell Parkway widening project, this one is near the finish line for design and permitting. We've got construction plans at DOT now. We're seeking approval on those. We're continue our coordination with you guys and Matt and folks there with the folks at Dodderers Creek, trying to bring that together so that we address that issue during construction. We're a little bit ahead of you guys from a design and permitting standpoint, but that's okay. We're still able to coordinate those projects, and it'll still be able to be included in that project and be constructed during that timeline. We expect to let the project in July of this year. The Savannah Highway capacity improvement. If you remember, this is the project that really goes from Avondale to the last signalized intersection south along Savannah Highway. So we've looked at pretty much every intersection through that corridor, and the idea there was to find opportunities to reduce congestion, improve safety along that corridor. And our consultant has provided us with conceptual drawings and cost estimates for each of those improvements. And we're going to go through that now, and we're going to present that to County Council to have them give us some guidance as far as step forward. What are the priorities that we need to take this project forward on? I think in the past we've heard from the mayor and others that the Avondale area is probably the number 1 priority, and then we've also looked at Wapoo, Stimson, and a few others there that we feel like there may be good projects that we'll discuss a little bit further. All right, on to James Island. This is James Island intersection bike ped improvement. This was a number of projects, 4 projects in all. The 2 here, Central Park and Riverland Drive, which have been much talked about recently. We are continuing to move forward with alternative 3 as directed by County Council last November, which includes the elongated roundabout. That is moving forward. Our next steps really will begin the acquisition of right of way for that project to move. The next project is the Folly Road bike ped improvement. So this is what you see on the screen there, the green bike lanes. This is, we're moving along on that. We're working with DOT really on a maintenance agreement. That's probably the big hurdle we've got in front of us right now that we hope to be getting over very soon. But we're negotiating that, and we're expecting some feedback from the DOT very soon on that, so we can move along. There will be some right-of-way acquisition, and that will begin as soon as we get this maintenance agreement with DOT in place. We're on track still to begin construction in early 2022. The other 2 projects there on James Island are Fort Johnson and Secessionville, which this is a signalized intersection. what you typically see with left turn lanes being installed. Right-of-way acquisition began, to begin by April. It has begun. We'll begin discussions on that and getting our things together, such as appraisals and doing our title search, things that we have to do to prepare for approaching the citizens there that live along that intersection. We've been coordinating with Charleston Water System for a fair amount of time now. There is some impacted water lines in that area that they're going to have to relocate. So we're putting together a plan, working with them to make sure that that moves along. We expect to go to construction in late 2022-23. So this one's got a little bit longer path, but we're moving it forward as quickly as we can. Fort Johnson and Camp. This is a project that's going to be a mini roundabout at this intersection. And the reason we chose the mini roundabout was because it had the least amount of impact, and it was a very efficient design for us to address the issues at that intersection. At the least amount of property impacts and the least amount of tree impacts. So it turned out to be a very good design for that intersection. We're currently taking public comments. There's designs that are posted on the project website now. So we take comments through that website if folks want to provide some feedback. And we also, if you may see some work happening out there on site now, which is we're taking soil samples from an environmental standpoint. There's an old convenience store that sits on the corner that we're having to do a phase 2 site assessment. We're having to take soil samples to ensure that the soil there is still is good and it is not a contaminated site, that we don't have any concerns there. So we're doing our due diligence to make sure that the property is there and ready for us to construct on. The last project here is the US 17 corridor congestion improvement study. So this was a comprehensive look from Avondale all the way through Septima Clark Parkway to Cumming Street. And we have gone through a lot of work on this. We had a virtual public meeting at the end of 2020, got over 300 responses there. And it really provided a survey of recommended improvements. And we'll have a summary of that. We have a final report is ready for that to be laid out, and then it's complete, and we'll be laying that out onto on the project website in the next few days. All right, the next group of projects, and I won't talk through all of these, but I'll highlight a few as I go along the way. And if you have any questions about any specific project, these are our smaller allocation projects. Each year we have the annual allocation for the different categories, such as intersection and bike and pedestrian. So I'll go through these, a few of them. So Calhoun Street at James Island Connector, which is a pretty large project there at the intersection. We are working through that one now in the kind of really the right-of-way and final design phases. So we'll begin right-of-way acquisition very soon, and then we're expecting to bid this project by the end of 21. So I would expect construction in 22 on that one. Camp Road Sidewalk, multi-use path. This is a project we're finalizing our permitting on and putting together our engineering package to deliver to DOT. It has some federal guide shares dollars that were applied to it to allow us to build that project. So we're moving that forward. We expect to bid this project this summer. We have a deadline of June 30th to get a package to DOT so that can move forward, and we're on track to do that. Courtney Drive and Dowdy Street signal upgrade. This was the all-PED phase that I think the hospital as well as you guys requested this project. That is moving forward through final design and permitting there. We should be hopefully constructing those improvements this summer as well. Maybank Highway, Woodland Shores. This is a pretty large project. We also got some federal funding through CHATS, the Transportation Alternatives Program. So that project is moving through design now, and it'll probably be 22 before we're looking at construction, but it is moving along pretty well, and it includes some of the crossing there at crossing on Maybank Highway, mid-block crossing. Nicholson Street, Savannah Highway, this is the traffic calming. Our staff has been coordinating with the T&T office on this to make sure that what we plan to put in there, that it matches the vision there that you all had, as well as come out of the US 17 corridor study. That is one of the projects that I guess that was birthed from that study that was brought forward last year by you all. Old Town District Transportation Improvement. This is one that's been of interest for quite some time. We are looking at funding this project in this fiscal year 22. It is moving along rather rapidly from a design standpoint. We had a public release a number of months ago that showed that design, what it would look like with the expectations that we met a number of months ago. Mayor and Councilman Chade kind of talked through that and what that was going to look like, and no longer doing the change of the alternate merge was no longer going to be removed. That would stay in place, but there would be a lot of other opportunities to connect the neighborhoods on either side to the center there, the businesses that are there in the center between those two major highways. So that's the project there. That once was 7 and 171 intersection improvement is now Old Town District Transportation Improvement, because it's a little bit more comprehensive than just that intersection itself. We hope to move that forward and then be ready for construction before July of next year. That's what we're looking for, a push to get the construction funding in place during fiscal year 22, which would be July 1 through June 30th of 22. Any particular one that you all have questions on thus far?
I was just going to ask on the Beast Ferry Sanders Road improvements. That, let's see, so the invitation to bid. Do you know, just because I get questions on it all the time, especially with some of the new developments going in there, when you would expect construction to be completed in terms of getting the light that would be going in at that intersection and that type of thing?
That's a fairly straightforward project with installing traffic signal there. And it's close to being advertised for bid.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're talking about a 60-day window for construction, and then I would expect to start this summer. I won't say June. It'd probably be more like July, August timeframe before we would get there. But once it starts, it'll be a pretty quick in and out for that installation.
Perfect. Great. Anyone else? Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Richard, so glad to have you with us, and thanks for the update on all these great projects you're working on. I did have a couple of questions and then a request. The segment A over Main Road, is that a separate, I just didn't know this, is that a separate bike ped bridge that's going to parallel the existing auto bridge?
It is.
Oh,
exactly
wow.
What it'll be. It'll be a separated structure. We looked at the opportunity to tie it to the cantilever it off, and through discussions with DOT, they preferred that we provide a separated structure. So that's
Wow.
what that design does entail that.
Well, that's cool. That's great. I didn't know that. You mentioned that study of US 17. Did y'all come to any conclusion about the city and the medical university West Edge request for at-grade crossing at Haygood?
It is included in there as reference only. It is not concluded. There's no conclusion. It was not ran in the model as it being installed. We do have it referenced there as a City of Charleston Medical District led project.
Okay. Then a third question, did I presume y'all work with Matt Fountain also on that Calhoun Street, James Island connector improvement? Because I know that's a location that we had talked about having a small pump station in the future. Was there any consideration of that, or at least while you're buying right of way to make room for that?
We have talked about that, and I don't know to what extent of detail, but that has been a discussion as to whether that could be included, a pump station there just before it goes into the marsh, or either a pump station as well as some backflow valves that could be installed into that area. So it's an ongoing discussion. We're not too far down the line from a design standpoint that all of those we couldn't partner with you all to make some things happen there.
Oh, good. I just kind of wanted to make sure y'all were talking on that, because I know we hope to do that down the road a little bit. And then finally, I guess this is more of a suggestion or request. In a similar fashion to the congestion study that you did on Outer 17, we've had a number of issues come up. Councilmember Shealy's on the line here as well about 61, outer old South Carolina 61, and whether we could partner with you and the SCDOT to do congestion study, if you will, on all those intersections once you get past the Glen McConnell, because it's clear from the scenic byway status and all the beautiful trees that we would never consider doing a widening there. That's what led to Glen McConnell being created in the first place. But we do think at this point to consider some left turn lanes or intersection improvements that would help traffic flow a little easier would be a benefit to our citizens out there.
I guess if we could definitely take on request, the transportation sales tax program would be a good spot for that, for intersection improvement request. As far as studies, typically historically we have not funded studies through the transportation sales tax through our allocation program. The 17 corridor study was one of the larger ones that was part of the referendum. So it's a little bit different. So I'll say there are some opportunities for those requests to come in for intersection improvements. There are ones that, and I'd be happy to work with Keith and staff there to maybe identify some of those from a very high level standpoint. And also the CTC would be another opportunity for request for studies. The CTC does take study requests, and that would be a good opportunity to look at the corridor as a whole.
Well, great. Well, y'all get together maybe offline and talk about that. But once again, thank you for your great work, and we appreciate our partnership with you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right, Keith, I see your hand up.
Yeah, just for the record, we have asked for various intersection improvements to be reviewed within the sales tax.
You got to
process.
Keith, your audio is all garbled.
Oh, okay. Should be. Can you hear me better right now, or no?
No, it's still really garbled.
You're putting Darth Vader to shame.
Is this at all better?
That's a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I needed to connect to the camera microphone. We have put in request for intersection improvements through the sales tax request process this year at Magwood, at Ashley Crossing Drive, Ashley Hall, and Tim Red, Ashley River Road and West Bridge Road, Ashley River and Glendale, and also St. Andrews and Riverdale. Those are requests that we've gotten from city council members and from the community as well for review. So hopefully those get some consideration for some improvements.
And Richard, if you wouldn't mind emailing that to Keith, the presentation, and then he can get that out to the rest of us, that would be great.
Will do. And if you have any follow-up questions after you review it, I'll be happy to, you can follow those to Keith, I'll be happy to answer whatever you need.
And before we, thank you. And before we move on, I was going to see if any of the other council members on the call, council members Appel or Shealy, had any questions related to this presentation.
Yeah, thank you. But I appreciate what the mayor has mentioned. Sorry, I get the feedback.
Ooh, you got some feedback going on. All right. Well, seeing no further questions. And thank you, Richard, and your team for putting that together and presenting that today. So seeing no further questions, I'll move on to agenda item 4, Eastside Community Development Corporation Residential Parking District Expansion. And I'll turn that over to Director Benjamin.
Hey, everyone. I'm going to just share my screen for a second. So as you all know, we have been really locked arm in arm with Ms. Gamble, the president of the Neighborhood Association for the East Side, for various different improvements, especially around traffic calming and parking. And one of the requests that has come up both from Councilmember Mitchell, who mentioned it on the floor of council some months ago, and then also from the neighborhood, is how to address the areas within the East Side neighborhood that currently are unregulated parking, translation free at all times of day, and what exactly that should look like, especially in the protection of residents. And so we spoke with the neighborhood. We did site visits, walked the streets with the council member and the neighborhood president, and had many follow-up meetings as well. And what was concluded was to expand the existing District I, which you see on the screen is outlined in the red, to include what's in the yellow, which would essentially include almost all of what's designated as the East Side neighborhood. Everything you see in the light purple is actually the East Side neighborhood. So essentially from Cooper Street up towards Harris Street. We are planning to work with the neighborhood on what those specific street designations look like. It most likely be a combination of residential streets, no parking on certain sides, and then also 2-hour parking similar to what you might see on South Battery and other parts of the city where there's a limit of parking, but not necessarily of who could park there. So we'll work with the community on that. What's in front of you all for approval is an ordinance change, zoning ordinance change to expand parking District I to not just include what's already in there in the red, but to this yellow portion as well. And that's what's on the table for your approval. I want to read into the record a portion of the Eastside Community Development Corporation's letter that they sent dated May 10th to Mr. Somerville and I. The Eastside Community Development Corporation and the Eastside community is in full support of the expansion of the residential parking district to Stewart. The East Side had its community meeting on May 5th, 2021 at 6 p.m. via Zoom and in person. The residential parking expansion was emailed to residents and information is displayed on the window at 60 America Street. And that was signed by Ms. Gamble. So just a portion of that letter, but wanted to make it clear that the neighborhood has supported this change and hope you all approve.
All right, thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Mayor or Councilmember Del Chapo?
No, I was going to make a motion that we approve it if the neighborhood is on board and, you know, this is where they park. Then I'm okay to respect that.
All right, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin, for that. All right, next up on the agenda is item 5, which is the traffic calming update, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Somerville.
Good afternoon, y'all. Really quick, based on what council approved, the contractor was able to rebuild the 2 speed hump locations on Emerald Forest. That's over there in Providence Common. I believe that's Councilmember Shealy's district, so we were able to get that done, as well as the 1 traffic calming speed hump on Country Club Drive. They were just old and outdated, needed repair, and we were able to get those done. The other locations, we have marked the 1 speed hump location on Bogart Street. I got the speed hump approval location form back from the neighborhood today. So we will work with the contractor to get those scheduled to be installed shortly. The committee approved a raised speed table on Jackson Street as well. I've been over to that location, but there's some construction going on right now. So I'm gonna wait till the construction get out the way before we get that installed, but hopefully that will be done in June. And the last, the locations that's in Carolina Bay, we have Conservancy Lane and I believe it's Amber Hill Way. We plan on marking those locations and having them ready for installation in June as well. I will say that we have been receiving more requests that will be considered under the 2022 budget. There's several streets, several neighborhoods that are coming and meeting the requirements. So as we're working on our 2022 budget, you'll see more requests coming from traffic and transportation. And basically that's all I have to report.
Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. The only one that I had just would be for the projects kind of in the pipeline. I know I've had people don't want to duplicate signing petitions and whatnot. So maybe in a month or so, if we could just get a list of kind of what's coming in that's going to be considered under the fiscal year 22 budget, that would be great just to see what's kind of in the queue.
Sure thing.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Somerville, for that update. The next item on the agenda is the director's update, and I'll turn that over to Director Benjamin.
Hey, everyone, just a couple of updates. One, just this afternoon, we received a final draft from SCDOT regarding the King Street road safety study that was conducted back in March that SCDOT led. That looks at both short and long-term goals in that area. I haven't emailed them back yet, but anticipated that they will be sending out that final draft to the various different stakeholders this week. Also wanted to let you all know, as you know, in February, SCDOT Secretary Hall passed the Complete Streets policy and the department-wide directive, specifically around that work. Part of that directive was the establishment of a statewide council that would assist the state DOT in navigating that new policy and how it gets implemented. We will have representation there from the city in those conversations to walk through that and what exactly that looks like later on this May. Also wanted to make sure you all knew, as you know, we've been constantly selecting intersections for Project 700 crosswalks where we improve signalized intersections for better pedestrian safety. 4 of those intersections are on the docket for this year. Rutledge at Cleveland, coming at Vanderhorst, coming at Radcliffe, and coming at Morris Street. We're expecting that those improvements should be completed by the end of this month. And then also on March 24th, our office sent a letter to SCDOT with a request regarding streets that were along the Greenway. We wanted to make a request that we've heard from many citizens that the speed on a number of those streets that intersect with the Greenway are way too high, and wanted to make the request that some of those streets be lowered to 25 miles an hour. The streets we had made a request to be studied were Coburg, Magnolia, Wapu, Arlington, Parkdale, and Mutual Drive. On May 3rd, we received the letter back from SCDOT co-signing the change of 25 miles an hour to Mutual, Arlington, and Coburg. So was encouraged by that, was a little bit discouraged about the fact that Magnolia Road was not a part of that inclusion, especially since in their study they found, quote, that 72% of vehicles sampled exceeded the posted speed limit on Magnolia Road. And so, you know, yes, enforcement, but also how are we better designating streets as well. So we'll continue to work with SCDOT on that. Finally, wanted to take a moment to let you all know that we are unfortunately losing 2 amazing folk in our department. Michael Mathis, who has served the city for 19 years, both as traffic operations, a manager of our traffic operations division, but also as a GIS technician. And then also Ricky, who has served the city for 38 years, having made well over 75,000 of our signs. Most of the signs that you see out on the street, he has had a hand in designing or making a choice of. from your neighborhood signs to your child at play signs, to your welcome to City of Charleston signs. He's a man behind the scenes, but you see his work literally everywhere. And so I wanted to invite them to be with us just to have a few words and say hi to y'all. We had a great barbecue celebration with them earlier this afternoon, just to show some love. And also want to give thanks to the mayor for his letters to both of them, just showing some support and appreciation. So we have both Michael and Ricky here. If y'all don't mind allowing them a few moments to just say hello to you all, if that's okay, Mr. Chair. Michael, whichever one wants to go first.
Perfectly fine.
I'll allow Ricky to go first since he's the man with the 38 years then.
Ricky?
I don't think Rick is paying attention.
I don't know if he hears. I don't know if he hears us over there. Robbie, go get him.
Already retired. He had his barbecue this afternoon.
Yeah, he already did, man. He already did.
No.
Robbie's going to help.
How'd you do it?
There you go.
All right.
There we go.
Ricky, did you hear any of what we had to say?
I can't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything?
Yeah, you're speaking. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Ricky. Congratulations on your retirement.
I can't hear a thing.
I'm sorry, y'all.
You guys can hear Ricky, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear him.
Yeah, for some reason we can't hear you, but we'll let Ricky say a few words.
All right. What do you want me to say? I've enjoyed working here.
Whatever you like. Now's your chance.
He already gone racing cars.
Let's give Ricky a round
I'm
of
muted,
applause.
but I just can't hear them.
What happened? Do you want to come to my computer, Ricky?
All right.
Yeah, go over there.
Make it easier.
You were on. I don't know what happened.
He deserves for us to wait. He deserves for us to wait. It's all good.
Absolutely.
All right, we're switching locations. All right, here I am.
Hey, Ricky,
Hey.
we were just showing you some love, man, and giving you a chance to address the Traffic and Transportation Committee and the mayor as we celebrate you and your transition. So just wanted to give you the floor.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed working here. It's been a pleasure. Every day's been different. But after 38 years and 5 months, I think it's time to go on. If not, well, I've made other mistakes, but I've really enjoyed working here. It's been a blast.
Well, Ricky, thank you for your service. You've been a steady hand at the sign shop were you there that whole time? For
Yes,
the
sir.
whole 8 years you were managing the sign shop, and Keith mentioned, I think, that you produced over 75,000 signs for the city of Charleston in your career and tenure there. So thank you for your service. We wish you many blessings in your retirement and future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Sorry I missed the barbecue.
You missed a good one.
Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Keith. Mayor, council members, thank you all so much for the opportunity to speak. Unfortunately, I don't have 38 years in. I realized today that I only have half the time that Ricky's put in. So hopefully in another 19 years, I'll be able to say I've worked in public service for 38 years. But it's been a wonderful 19 and a half years working with the city. Mayor, it's been great working with you for the last 5+ years. And I can't imagine having spent the first half of my career with a better team, with a better group of people. And I'm going to miss those guys, and look forward to what's coming in the next chapter. But I won't be going far. I'll be going over to work with my friends over at Charleston County, so in the Public Works Department. So I'm sure these guys will be calling me and asking for money or something. So we'll continue our relationships over there, and that's been the best part about this job, is the relationships that I've developed over the 19 and a half years, and I can't wait to continue those in a different capacity. But certainly appreciate each and every one of you, and appreciate all the love that's been shown to Ricky, who's worked for me for the last several years and done an amazing job, and certainly appreciate everything he's done. So thank you all, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your service as well. I know, Richard, you're going to take real good care of him over there, and we're partners on so many things. We absolutely look forward to continuing to work with you. You're still part of our team, Michael. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor.
And that's all I had on mind, unless you all, council members, had any questions or things that you need for us to stay on top of.
Does anyone have anything, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention for the record, and I know it happened kind of spur of the moment today in meeting with our business community, particularly on Upper King Street, and upon the recommendations of Charleston Police Department, that on weekend evenings, Thursday, the request was all the way through Sunday that we will convert King Street to southbound only from 9 o'clock in the evening until closing time, and that will allow for more safety and more space for all the various users and pedestrians. I think it'll really enhance the experience up there and allow us to keep things safer as well. So dual purpose, and since it is related to TNT, and I did want to, for the record, let everyone know that we're going to, on I guess a trial basis or a test basis, make this conversion and see how that works for the next few months.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Jackson?
Thanks. I'm very sorry to come late to the meeting. I was at the James Island Intergovernmental Drainage Committee meeting, which is also very important to where I'm serving. But I was just, I watched the last half of the press conference, Mayor, and it just occurred to me procedurally, did we have to get DOT's permission for that? Or are we doing it as an emergency, just to know for the future, what's the process for changing the direction of the street traffic?
Well, it's just temporary in nature. We certainly, we've asked Keith to advise SCO DOT that we intend to do this, and I expect we'll have their cooperation, as it's a safety related matter. I don't know if Keith has anything to add to that.
No, sir. I received a call from the district office soon after the press conference, and then send correspondence between the district office and CPD so that they can coordinate in that regard. And so still more to come on that, but connections have been made.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Just scrolling through my little tiles here. All right, seeing no further discussion for the good of the order, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning early and then seeing each other at Ways and Means, please signify by saying aye.
Only if you show us your shirt, Chairman.
Oh, it's my Atlanta Braves Hawaiian shirt, in significance of the fact that I am 6 time zones behind right now.
Hawaii, if the rest of you don't know, he's in Hawaii.
Yeah, when did you... Oh, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Hold all your business.
What did you say, Mr. Mayor?
When did you get there? How is it?
It's great. We flew in yesterday morning, and then Councilmember Seekings called me at 5:30 a.m. Hawaiian time this morning to ask me to chair the meeting today. So here I am.
It's what you get.
That's right. Well, by unanimous consent, I will call this meeting adjourned and see everyone in my white dress shirt that I'll be putting on for the Ways and Means Committee meeting as well as council. See you guys in a little bit.